Whippo, Allen, wait, what? Oh, Inspired. Wait, what? Okay. And yourself have contracts expiring this year. Do you feel like Worlds could be the roster's last dance? Definitely. It's very rare for a team to stay together for 3 or more years without a roster changes. It could be our last dance, as you said. Still, I'm not sure what will happen, and I really focus on that either. The only thing on our minds right now is our next games and Worlds, and the tournament ends. We'll see. Really enjoyed my time on FlyQuest and the players around me for sure. They're one of the priorities. They're one of my priority. But I'll also look at what other teams are like. There are strong players on other teams as well. I wouldn't mind staying with FlyQuest next year, but I'm ready to look at other options. So I think there's a couple of key things with Inspired. One, well, where can he realistically go, right? Because the thing is Inspired's the best Western. He's the best Western player right now, but he's the best Western jungler, and then you have the number 2 support with you as well. And I already fucking know people. No, Boostio's not the best. So, anyways, even if there's an argument about Boostio, you can open up ProViews or you can watch his stream. And then you can also remember that there is no Western support except for maybe Mickey that is able to play as many champions as Boostio. And then Boostio, much like Inspired, is able to play other roles at a professional level, and there's very few support players that can actually do that. Because Boostio is originally a amateur mid laner, right? He was an academy mid laner that role swapped to support 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. 4 years ago, he role swapped to support. So Boostio is like crazy. Boostio has the best first-person view of any Western support player. So if you watch any Western support player stream, or back when like ProView existed, etc., you open up Boostio's and it's night and day. It is not comparable. It's like watching like a Nemesis first-person view versus like watching fucking I don't even like a bottom LTA mid laner's first-person view. It's just night and day. And I actually even had this conversation with Trimby that like I think Trimby, his first-person view, for as good as he is, Trimby is very good. Trimby's biggest weakness is actually his mechanics. And it's his overall perception because he can't move the screen fast. He can't move the screen fast, and he also can't react super quick. If you watch Trimby's mouse, it's actually pretty slow. And I've had conversations about this with him, and he's agreed that like it is like his weakness. Trimby's obviously very good at like timing, and he's very good at like hitting the right spots and like all this other type of stuff. He's fucking super crazy at it. But mechanically, he is worse than Mickey and Boostio, and these supports and whatnot. And obviously, people will mention like Labrov and they'll mention these other players. But yeah, I think like Mickey at his peak and Boostio are just the 2 best, and then you have like Labrov and Trimby, and you have some others. But anyways, FlyQuest losing him would be huge, yes. I feel like it's inevitable, though. All good things come to an end. Losing him would fuck both NA and EU offseason. It's going to be crazy. Time for EU GMs to prove that they aren't total frauds. Yeah, I mean, Inspire, it's weird, right? Yeah. G2 is also the only realistic option Inspired would choose over Fly. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Let me LEC Summer 2025. Let me take a look. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Because the other thing is that Inspired could also just make other roster changes happen around him. He's never going to go to SK, so let's close SK. He's never going to SK. He's never going to BDSM, all right? He's never going to fucking... Are you kidding? Let's be honest here. Never going to BDSM. He would never go to Heretics, okay? He's never going to go to Vitality, true. So he's never going to go to Vitality. We can agree with that. He is not going to go... I can't imagine Carmen Corp would actually try to get him. Maybe they would. I don't know. The thing is Kana is probably out of Carmen Corp. There's NA teams that are actually trying to get Kana, but then also Kana is trying to go back to Korea, potentially. So Kana, there's a lot of stuff around Kana right now. I don't think that you'd go to Carmen Corp. I don't know. We'll just leave it as like an open thing right now. There's Giants right now, Giant X, which he's never going to go there. And then Navi, he's never going to end up going to Navi. That's just not going to happen. And so you're left with like these 4 teams. The thing is that MCOY is never going to change Elioya, right? He's like the heart and soul of the team. This is just never going to happen. So he's not going to be, it's not possible for him to end up on MKOI. So you're left with basically these three teams. Now, would Skewmond ever get kicked for Inspired? Maybe that is something that could actually happen because Caps is CEO. The thing is that I actually think, I think Hansama probably doesn't stay on G2 next year. And we also know that last year Hansama was on the chopping block, and it just didn't end up happening. But, oh, fuck, did I move the thing up again? We're almost in draft. Okay. Hansama was almost on the chopping block, and it just didn't end up happening, right? So Skewmond could, in theory, get cut. That, like... It's not about if Skewmond is bad. So this is kind of like the Gumayushi Teddy situation, like way back in time, right? So we're talking 2021, right? This is the Gumayushi Teddy situation. Teddy is still one of the best in the entire league, right? He's still one of the best AD carries in the entire world, right? But Gumayushi is someone that they want to hang on to and they eventually want to play. So it's not about Teddy not being good enough or Teddy not being performative at that point in time. It's about just another really fucking good player is there and available, and much like T1, G2 is going to always try to have the absolute elites. So I think that's a possibility. I don't think, from knowing both of them, I do not think Caps and Inspired actually blend. I do not think that they blend. Because I think what would end up happening is Caps is probably one of the very few Western players that can like push back on Inspired, because I think very few Western players have as much comprehensive game knowledge as Inspired. But in addition to that, Caps is able to push back with stature in a way that, you know, other players kind of can't. And I know that sounds stupid because it shouldn't be, like, appeals to authority and, like, other types of stuff. But what could end up happening is a difference in how to play. And Inspired is very, like, if Inspired was, like, you know, like a chess player or something, like, I would compare Caps to, like, I don't know why I'm using this analogy, but, like Mikhail Tal or whatever, right? He's considered, like, one of the most aggro chess players of all time. And we know that a lot of moves now that he did, you know, when you put them into an engine, they're not good moves, right? But he's doing it for other reasons and whatnot. And I think Inspired would loathe the idea of that because Inspired just wants to be an impenetrable wall. He doesn't necessarily want to have to do anything with variance. He doesn't want to have to do anything that makes the onus on him. He wants to load into the game with the onus on the opponents to do something. And I know this from all the combos that I have with him frequently and, like, you know, whatever. And he also talked about this in, like, one of the interviews, right? And I don't think on G2 that it blends well. I think this is very akin to, like, the same issue that existed on, like, C9 or, like, TL's, like, super teams that they tried making, right? Where the players just don't blend well. So I think it would be... I think on paper, people think Inspired to G2 is an upgrade. I think in actuality, I think that it's... if I were to use, like, a trading card game analogy, they're all, like, Z tier or just absolutely busted cards. They're, like, some of the best cards that exist. They're the Power 9. Right? They're the Power 9. But this deck doesn't run, like, blue or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't run blue. So even though Inspired is, you know, Ancestral Recall or he's Time Walk or, like, fucking he's Mock Sapphire or, like, whatever, the deck doesn't run blue. So it doesn't matter that Inspired is a part of the Power 9. The deck doesn't fit to him, right? So like he's the wrong color pairing for the deck, even though he's one of the best cards, right? So that's the way that I perceive Inspired, right? It would be like saying that, like, Sheoldred of the Apocalypse. Anyone that plays Magic knows what this card is. Let me just show you guys. So this card warped so many formats. It is probably one of the most hated cards in the history of Magic the Gathering now. It is Sheoldred the Apocalypse. So it's a 4 mana, 2 colors, 2 black, 4/5, so it's thick as fuck, and look at her, she's thick. Death Touch, whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life, which is 10% of your starting life. Okay, so every time you draw a card, you gain 10% of your starting life. And then whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. There is a draw step at the beginning of every player's turn. So Sheoldred's doing some real weird things. One of the most hated cards in the entire game. So it would be stupid to say that Sheoldred is not one of the most broken black cards that ever existed, because she just is. But it doesn't matter how broken Sheoldred is if your deck is red or if it's green and it doesn't run black. It doesn't matter that Sheoldred is that good. It just doesn't fit, you know? It's kind of like, let's take like Genji or something. Let's take like, I don't even know. Like, how do we make like a comparison? Like, Keen is like basically the best top laner for Genji, because he does exactly what Chovy does, essentially. He is like a version of Chovy. He's a mirror image to Chovy. In many, many ways. He's just not as flashy as Chovy can be, and he's not as overbearing as Chovy can be. But Keen is like very similar to Chovy, so it's a stacked deck. Now, if you replace Keen with, let's say Summit, let's say 2022 Summit, it doesn't make sense. You have a top laner that's constantly trying to fight, he's constantly trying to push, and Chovy just wants you to not do anything. He wants you to do nothing, right? He wants you to just go 0/0/0. And so that doesn't make sense. And Canyon, likewise, wants the laners to just be even and, like, all this other type of stuff. So it doesn't make sense, and then you have Ruler. So it's not a stacked deck. And so, like, 2022 Summit, which is probably, like, Prime Summit, it's probably, like, Prime Summit, or, like, 2020 or 2022 Summit is, like, Prime Summit. It just doesn't make sense in the team, right? It doesn't fit with like what they're trying to do. So that's what I think about Inspired to G2. Karman Corp is interesting because if they changed other players, that could be somewhere that you... dude, imagine, unironically, imagine Kana leaves, Whippo goes back, Inspired, and then they import Busio. They import Busio, and then they have import mid available, and like I don't even fucking know. Karman Corp just like shits on everyone. They fucking get Showmaker or Zeka in the off season. Like I don't even know. That'd be hilarious, dude. They just like steal fucking FlyQuest. And then there's Fnatic, which in theory, Razork, Oscarinen, I think both of them are potentially changeable. And that's another thing that could end up, you know, potentially happening, right? Like, you could get Inspired Jungle, and then the other thing people don't mention is that Whippo could just go back to Europe. And if that's true, he's not an import. And so, like, there's, like, interesting things where a team tries to get both Whippo and Inspired. So, there's that. Okay, we're almost in the next game. Did I just close out of every window? Wait. I did. Fuck. Okay. What the fuck? I did, right? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. GT should go for Busio. Skewmon seems to... Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I don't think people realize that teams could actually just try to get FlyQuest. In a way. Like, holy fuck. That would be so brutal. That would be so fucking brutal. But, I mean, there's other things, right, that technically tie... some players to Fly, like Busio. Basil's on FlyQuest, right? As a content creator and stuff. So, you know, Basil's there, and yeah. Okay, we're almost in the next game. Okay. Kana Inspired Poby upset, legit scary. This is not scary. This is not scary because even if Poby has Inspired, Poby is not beating Caps. Poby's not beating Caps, and I think Inspired would literally feel the same exact way. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Not Poby, yes. Yep. Agreed. See. I wonder if our Korean team would actually try to get him, but yeah. Oh boy, my yearly Korean... Oh, are we... Alright, we're almost in draft. CFO versus Fnatic! Speaking of Poby. Holy...